Hey folks, this is BestInSlot, and in tonight's video we're going to take a look at this weird little teaser image from Frontier Developments, the makers of Jurassic World Evolution, hinting, apparently, at their next big video game project. We're probably going to hear more about this in the coming days. Gamescom is later this week. I think we're going to be watching that live here on the channel because the chances of a reveal for something pretty cool are pretty high. And hey, we might have fun time anyway. But let's talk about this image. So what I've done is I've broken it down into what I think is the important things to look at, but we need context first. Context is very important, so let's take a look at some tweets. Here we go. This is the important one. This is the most important tweet. We're loving everyone's guesses, but there's something that we're growing is something completely new, not related to any of our current titles. The first things people thought were that this was Jurassic World related or indeed Elite Dangerous related, and I'll point out, it's pretty obvious why, but I'll point out why in a little bit. It's not. It is not directly related to any of their existing titles, as in it's not a sequel. We're not looking at Jurassic World Evolution 2 here, we're not looking at Elite Dangerous 2 or an Elite Dangerous DLC, or indeed the Jurassic World Evolution DLC. That's not to say it's not another Jurassic World game, or indeed not a dinosaur game. Let's continue with our tweets. Here we have somebody pointing at the dinosaur, and Frontier, wide-eyed. Just want to point that out. They've, oh, maybe the dinosaur is important. Thirdly, because people will watch this video and think I'm taking it apart a little bit too much, as they did. Remember when we had the photo of the rocks and the sand and stuff on the Frontier developer's desk, and I said this meant sand was coming to the game and everyone's called me crazy? I wasn't crazy. I was right. I'm right again. So, let's look at this tweet right here. The whole image is a hint, more coming soon. Everything here is here for a reason. Everything on this page is hinting at the next game, so it's important that we break down basically everything here. So we are going to go a little bit on a deep dive here. We're going to look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 different aspects of the image, and hey, it's fun to speculate. If we're entirely wrong, we'll know in a few days, but we get to make our guesses. You guys can let me know what you think it is in the comment section down below, and then hopefully later this week at Gamescom we'll be able to find out. I think that's pretty cool. So let's look at it bit by bit. First things first, there's a dinosaur. Okay, there's a theropod dinosaur, it resembles a Tyrannosaurus Rex. It looks a little stoned, but other than that, it's a fairly regular little dinosaur toy. Remember, the entire image is a hint. Now, it may not be as direct and straightforward as the game has dinosaurs in it, but the dinosaur is there for a reason. It's chosen to be there. Well, it hasn't. The dinosaur toy didn't go, I really want to be in this image, and hopped up onto the desk. The dinosaur is there for a reason. We should take that as a reason. Now, this is interesting because we know Frontier, or at least we believe Frontier, is actually working on another Jurassic World title. So, whilst it wouldn't necessarily be an Evolution sequel, although I do think that's still in the works, maybe I'm wrong, there's still a chance that this is another Jurassic World game. Now, whether they tease like this is another matter. It could be their own project. I've actually got some theories, and we're going to try to save the speculation for the end. But just remember, there's a dinosaur. The game probably involves dinosaurs, and there are more reasons to believe that. Let's keep looking. Over here, again, we have something from Elite Dangerous. We have an Elite Dangerous mug at the bottom left, and that's got the Elite Dangerous logo. So that's why people thought it was Elite Dangerous. That's why people thought it was Jurassic World, because it has facets of both. And they are, Frontier's main titles along with the Planet series right there. What else do we have? Let's take a little peek. We have Mitosis Cell Division, that little sticker, the little post-it note on the top right of the PC. Very Jurassic Park-esque in general, I would say, by the way. Something Frontier have done before with post-it notes, but that is Mitosis Cell Division to me. That looks like the genetic material of the cell dividing, something you would see when you're growing new material or when you're cloning something. It is actually directly cloning. With mitosis, you're creating a replica of the original genome, so just worth keeping in mind, I think. That one, a little interesting. We also have what looks to be something growing in this tank. It looks like a cluster of cells to me. Some people suggested a brain. I think it is meant to be like just the very bare minimum of like a growing organism, and eventually it's going to sprout into like a full embryo kind of thing. You'd see it in this kind of sci-fi setting, growing an embryo in these kind of almost radioactive looking cell tanks. I think given enough time that would look like something else. I'm hoping what they do is they post another version of this image with like further developments on it, and maybe we'll see what this cell cluster grows into. My bet is maybe a little dinosaur. Maybe a little dinosaur. What else we got? We have by design over here. So this little post-it note over here says the words by design on it. So I googled by design. I googled genetics by design as well, just to see what would come up. And I instantly got a page about bull semen, which was fun. But generally speaking, there was a lot of, when you search genetics by design at least, there's a lot of pages about basically designing animals, about building animals, about designing animals through genetics, which is of course something we're doing more and more of. Are humans going to be made by genetics in the future? That's definitely a possibility. And dinosaurs are designed through genetics. Again, important. This one probably less important if I remember. Yes, it's just radioactive. Oh no. It's worth to point it out. Let's move on from that one. And then finally we have the computer screen here. I couldn't find a reference image for what this is. It's a weird graph because it's got two very clear y-axis instead of just y-axis on the left. It's got a y-axis on both sides, and it's clearly meant to be two disparate data points, both coming from separate sides. But the important thing is both the data points, they kind of go up and they meet in the middle, and you can see there's arrows offshooting. Like to me, it reads as though it's like two disparate genetic materials matching and then bouncing off each other, like they're not fusing or something like that. It could be a various number of things, but they did say everything on the page is a hint. I really don't think anything is too small to look into. And look, it's on the PC, it's huge. I think it's important. So, all that said, there's our image in full so we can talk about it. What do you think this is? I have my own theories. My theory is Frontier, seeing the success of Jurassic World Evolution. Jurassic World Evolution brought in a ton of cash. By far their most successful game ever. Blows every other game they've made out of the water. Now, in part, that's because it was a Jurassic World game. You know, that license means a lot. But in part, it's because it was a modern dinosaur park builder, something we desperately lacked since Jurassic Park Operation Genesis 20-odd years ago. So my theory is, my working theory based on this image, bearing in mind we've said it's not an Evolution 2 and it's not Elite Dangerous, my working theory is that this is a Frontier-made dinosaur game that is not Jurassic World related, that it is their own unique IP and property, and it will somehow, basically what they're going to do is take their two biggest franchises, which is probably Elite Dangerous and Jurassic World, and mesh them together into their own thing. This kind of genetic searching, maybe alien spaceship, blah blah blah. Well, spaceship world touring, universe touring game where you go out and you hunt down aliens. Maybe like kind of like their version of No Man's Sky would be the better way to put it, with more of a genetic animal creation angle to it. So you go around, you fly from planet to planet, you scan and maybe take samples from local animals, and then you use those animals to create your own hybrid creatures. Basically imagine No Man's Sky meets Impossible Creatures is kind of what I've got in my head. Now what you do with those animals, I don't know. Maybe it's another park builder, maybe it's an RTS, maybe it's just for building a zoo, maybe it's just for fun, maybe there's a storyline attached, whatever. But that is kind of where the image is taking me right now. That is heady speculation because that would be incredible. We have been desperate for a new Impossible Creatures for a long time. And I will say, Frontier's modus operandi for the last few years has very much been about reviving old, unused properties or unused game ideas and bringing them back to the forefront. Jurassic World Evolution was our first game in 20 years since JPOC. Planet Zoo was our first real park zoo builder since Zoo Tycoon 2, really. Elite Dangerous was a revival of an old franchise. Planet Coaster was the revival since, you know, Roller Coaster Tycoon back in the day, really. I know there's Parkitect and a few others, but in terms of mainstream games, it's just interesting. It's interesting. I don't know, we don't have much more to go on than that. I was meant to bring up all my highlighted image, but if I do that, it doesn't really work, does it? Boom, 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 boom. Like I say, this really is the most important thing. It's something completely new, but it has hints to Jurassic World, it has hints to Elite Dangerous. Maybe it's going to bring in facets from both of those franchises into this game. That would be my bet. I think, like they said in this tweet over here, everything is a hint. I'm not being overly deep divey here. Everything is a hint, so we should look at everything as a hint. Maybe I'm completely wrong. We'll find out in a few days, but I would love to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below. What is this image hinting at? I'm putting my hat on a new dinosaur game of some description. I think genetic testing and genetic hybridization and cloning and all that kind of jazz is going to be a big part of it, along with some form of space exploration. That sounds like an incredible game. We'll see if that's the case. I also think it makes a lot of sense financially for Frontier to make their own dinosaur game. They've got a lot of practice at it now, and they wouldn't be encumbered by a franchise to, you know, satisfy, basically. So that's my personal bet, but it could be absolutely bloody anything. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you lovely folks next time. Oh, remember, tomorrow, Planet Zoo DLC, big day, we'll have lots of content on that, so stick around for that. Thanks for joining me, cheers myself as always, bye bye.